Namaskar and welcome to this exciting new session of Sattology. We're going to discuss some core topics here, core issues, particularly related to the ideological gap in the US politics today, and also why we're discussing a little bit of politics just for education purposes, and also to understand the philosophy behind this politics. I have a great writer. He's writing his fifth book on particular topic. He's a great observer on human development and also human rights. So let us, without delay, welcome the author, commentator, and a television uh, political analyst with us from India. Let's welcome Sri Ratan Shardaji. Welcome to the show.
Namaste. Namaskar.
So, namaskar and very good evening to you, according to your time. So, Ratanji, what is
Yes,
this ideology?
it has been a busy day. Still to us to go for the day for me.
So what is the ideology? Which now we see a lot of protests in India and US on different aspects of history, breaking of statues happening, and we had a Black Lives Matter. You all also addressed it last time. And we have a lot of things happening. How do you draw parallel to India with these kind of things? What has happened in India in this regard?
See, yeah. Aditya, what is happening in India has a common base with the USA as well as a global person has allied with Islam, both of them very strong critical to each other, but in an effort to overthrow the democratic system, in an effort to break the society and the nations, which is the basic idea of communism, we find them allied together, which is really very funny in the way and also ridiculous. But that's the way that alliances come. So cards in nearly the same manner. See, communist philosophy has been anti-nation, although after they form a government, they become very nationalist. Whether you look at China, whether you look at Vietnam, so they become very strongly nationalist. But while there is a movement, their base effort is to break the society. Earlier, they used the struggle of the proletariat and bourgeoisie. Then they talked about many other philosophies. But when they lost the base, starting from Russia, the ideas changed to the cultural studies, to hegemonic studies, to studies like patriarchy, racial discrimination, feminism, everything, every fault line of the society that was to be studied and fault lines found and break the society were used. So breaking the statues now. So that is how I look at it as the starting point of the discussion.
No, that's a great point. See, the statues that are being broken. See, it's not about who they are breaking, whose statues they are breaking, but the mindset behind that breaking of statues is some completely different. It's like dismantling the American society. That's the mindset. I'm totally against.
Exactly.
I'm totally against any kind of like slavery or any such kind of actions which demean other human being. But here the ploy is completely different. It's about breaking the back of the American democracy for something more fascist, and that's a problem we have as a society, because if America breaks down from what it is or what it was created by the founding fathers, then it won't remain the economic powerhouse which is generating employment for the billions of people. So this is the problem we have, and I think the same problem that you are fighting. But what are those elements of the
So if you
ideology?
look at it,
Yeah.
the communism was, see, when you look at it, Mr. Aditya, the communism was a fringe player in the USA, nowhere to be seen. It was just a marginal fringe player. But somewhere along the line, as Democratic Party became weak, It has been now hijacked slowly by the ultra left forces, the communist forces, the oldest party, which was the bedrock of American political system and democracy. You had Mr. Sanders, who was extreme left. We thought that Joe Biden is a little moderate, but today he spoke against CAA of India without realizing that the Citizen Amendment Act is about persecuted minorities. So he should have supported it. So this totally blind game. Now Democrat Party supported by CAIR, a covert operation allegedly by Muslim Brotherhood. You have got ultra communist leaders like Keith Ellison, trained Marxists who are nearly at the top of the democratic leadership. So now this respectable base that they have got, that has emboldened them to go and destroy the harmony and also the sense of nationhood that America has nurtured for more than 200 years. So this is the real danger, that these people occupying places of strength because Democratic Party has lost its moorings. That is really very sad, because if you do this, then naturally you are opening the gates for these kind of anarchists. See, the injustice to black is one issue which has been raised time and again, for which the Constitution of America did wonderful work. And of course, there were atrocities. I have highlighted them earlier with Native Americans, with blacks. But efforts have been afoot all through this time to get them a place of honor, making a African black president Obama in US was a landmark event. Then what happened for 8 years? What did Obama do? It means the Democratic Party has somehow lost the moorings, and now it has been infiltrated by elements which want to destroy the whole social harmony of US society.
You're absolutely right. Now there is one problem which has I think we have to understand about US is, in terms, it's the single largest destination of foreign direct investment in the world, and they are the biggest consumers of the of the world investment. So during the last few years, in the name of progressiveness, most of the American universities have been taken over by funds from abroad. And so
Yes.
we see that the Harvard University, Stanford University, Yale, now they have become the bed of ultra left, and I should not forget Berkeley, ultra left ideology, which is actually destructive to the American society.
See, if you look at the history of American universities, I was just talking another day with somebody. First, you had the church-backed funds which came to the universities, so you had certain narrative. Then it was which somehow tried to present a superior way the whole Christian world and justified what happened. Then you had the entry of MNCs, which again directed the whole discussion towards the non-existence of national borders, and MNCs trying to dictate terms to world over using these NGOs. Even today, a person like Soros has given $100 billion to the LBN. So these kind of influences controlled them. Then when they got in, they had a problem. The Islamic countries walked. Then you had suddenly respectability given to Islamist and jihadi philosophy, where Islamists were tried to be projected as persecuted people, although the history of the world showed something entirely different. And then when these people got into trouble, you have again now people from China funding them. Though you had Chinese premier who was studying in so their daughter was studying in US, and suddenly there were floodgates open, the donations from China, and you find China glowing in good terms in universities. So naturally, the funds affect how you think. And if this is the way the universities are run, the most prestigious universities, they need to rethink the way they finance, the way they are running their show. And if they lose their credibility, which is the highest among even the globe even now, but when you see through this, that the various layers of thought process which are changed by the people who fund those universities, there is something to worry about.
Absolutely. I think I must tell you one more thing which has happened in the University of Illinois, that recently there was a black facing of a very nationalistic American founding president. and it has happened there. And the things which are mentioned over there is go back capitalist. And now, so it's a direct message that these protests are funded from the sources which are against capitalism. And still the students, the brainwashing has been, the war has been bad, the war is bad, the US is the most treacherous force in the world. That kind of negative kind of preaching has been going on. And so result has been that the America is now finding itself fighting to gain its own identity in within USA. So this ideology has really destroyed. So what is your comments on this, please?
See, wherever communism has gone, it has impoverished those countries. You look at Russia, finally, Russia collapsed under its own weight. Even today, apart from Russia, all other countries are struggling. China had to give up communism. This is just a facade. It is a communist party running a state run capitalism. You have North Vietnam still trying to find feet, and the only way they can survive is by getting over the communist thinking, the way they are growing now, the way they factories are moved from China to Vietnam. They have to break all the so-called controls of the Communist Party. Everywhere you look around the world, they have actually damaged and destroyed the economies of the world. China has multiple, I mean, they have killed billion people in the name of communism. And look at Russia, there were millions of people who went to Siberia, simply destroyed their lives, and economies didn't recover because the entire process where you feel that an individual has no interest in what he makes, what he works for, there is no sense of ownership. Ultimately, rewards will not come. And America, with all its deficiencies, has proven that if you give people to grow, the individual liberty that America has, the way it encourages individual innovation, has seen people within, outside, prospering. The whole nation has developed, and whole nation is wealthy and prosperous only because of its individual freedom, because of its enthusiastic support to the sense of innovation. So the whole idea of destroying capitalism in USA means destroying USA, making it a begging bowl like all other countries that have become a begging bowl for all these years. So the entire idea is foolish in a land which has proven the worth of capitalism, though we don't like the gap between the rich and the poor, which is true for communist parties also today, because whenever you have enterprise, this will happen. But corruption is the root cause of these problems. But this whole entire system has proven to be much more better, where people can actually benefit, they work hard. And do you think state can offer funds to people like who are moving in the streets if they don't earn any money? Who is financing all this? The hard-working people who are paying taxes in USA or whether in India, these are the people who are financing various activities, social welfare schemes. So no nation can have a pure capitalism, but no nation can afford communism. It's the ultimate bankruptcy idea.
You're absolutely right. See the textbooks. I'll read you some textbooks I have here. The textbooks is a political science student's textbook right now, and he says over there the writing is there. The America has been known to exploit other nations. Now, this is a mainstream political student studying in a graduate school. America is
In the
known to
mecca of
exploit.
capitalism.
Yes. So America is known to exploit other countries. The future of America is not as good as it looks, and it seems that the ideology of other communist nations were a little bit better, but we need to find a balance. So this is what is taught. And read you the book, and this book was given to me by Harvard students, and many of them are watching it. So one question is that these textbooks have been modified to such an extent that I think it will put communism to shame in India.
I've lost you, Adiji.
Hello, can you hear me now?
See, it's amazing. When they say other countries are better, capitalist prosperity. And what better system is it? How far it is different? The American muscular system in foreign policy, is it different from the muscular foreign policy system of China? At least America didn't occupy land saying it is mine. There you are, China trying to bully all the neighboring countries, saying this is my land, this is my land, living in a medieval age of Middle Kingdom. So in that way, US behavior is a little better. I would definitely condemn the way they try to become a global police, but that has nothing to do with capitalism. That is to do with acquisition of resources, which what China is doing, which Russia is trying, which every global world country has tried to do. But that is the typical behavior of global system, which allows you to prey on the poor countries. So Africa is being exploited by all the nations. So it is not to do with the capitalism or communism of different countries. It has to do with a mindset which tries to dominate the other countries, which is totally different from the way India works. For example, Indian philosophy, what we call dharma, has never in thousands of years tried to control countries, try to overpower countries, has never gone out of way to expand its geographies or put atrocities on the head of people to somehow destroy the culture or destroy the religion. It's never done it. So this philosophy of India, this dharma of India, is the way forward. We have realized after Corona, all this muscular talk of controlling different nations, trying to acquire those nations in different forms is not going to work. You have to work together. You have to respect each other. That is the way India has shown. Like you have pointed out, American Dharmic society, that's the only way to grow for America to survive this onslaught of ultra-left and Islamist forces to remain what it was, one of the best countries in the world.
In the campuses today, what I find is in the US campuses, the movement of left and communist ideologies coupled with Islamic, it's like Islamic ideology is like a monkey on the back. So you have got the leftist front, communist front, and then Islam in the backpack. And now they come with this hatred which is not seen in the campus. There was never a time where I felt unsafe on the campus before. But nowadays, if I walk in the campus, I do not know what's going to happen. I have to always be near the blue buzzer where I can call the cops anytime. That's the situation at the campus today. And this is the same thing, looks like a Naxal movement in India. Similar, absolutely
Yeah.
similar. So these are, in India, you call them urban Naxals, and I call them here campus Naxals. So these are the
Yeah, so
people.
this is right. So this is typical, as I said in the beginning, this is the typical hallmark of left communist movements lost base politically. See, North Vietnam, nobody. So if we have got countries which are no more communist, and you are talking of a system which is basically, so what does Communist Party in the Marxist philosophy do? It invents new terminologies, it invents new fault lines because it's anarchy. So this the effort to create anarchy in different labels with different fault lines, what is the most dangerous part, which is being supported by the education system in India, unfortunately now, as you tell me, also in America. So this is something that all the right thinking people, all the dharmic people have to really understand, that if you are going to poison the mind of the young people, as I pointed out earlier, in Europe and USA, the destruction of family institution was handiwork of far left, was the handiwork of so-called hegemony studies. The destruction of the societies who have no moorings, children who have no mother and father, families who have no brothers and sisters. You find them at the mercy of nature, at the mercy of the state governments, and you find them in Corona. At least you find them, dying like ninepins. So this tells you that unless the society is cohesive, unless there is a strong interhuman bond in the families and in the society, no government can actually deliver, and no society can actually live happily. How many psychiatrists will you create? How many depressant drugs will you give the people? And how many people will feed if there is nobody to create wealth?
See, the wealth creators have been replaced by wealth consumers in the US campus now.
Exactly.
And the whole idea about we are very well off and nothing can touch us for next 50 years. I think the economies move very fast. There are large countries have collapsed within days, not even weeks. The collapse can
Yes.
come in days, not in weeks. So I think that kind of reticence which is there in the US campus students life that I see, not all of them, majority of them don't even care, but so those people are still continuing. But the overall the productivity of these students are going to come down, and this is not good for USA as such.
Yes, because strength of USA lies in inspiring, motivating, innovative people, inspiring, motivating people to work hard. And if you say that there's no need to work hard and communism will feed you, how will it feed? America is the land of Ayn Rand also, if you remember. And Ayn Rand is a lady who, in a very black and white way, presented capitalism, which I don't agree with, but she showed that how individual powers the nation, powers the society. That was the important lesson. Not the other parts you feel that you have no role to play in society, because that is where, as a Hindu, I differ from Ayn Rand, that society has created you, society has molded your thoughts, molded you, supported you. Every individual person who buys a cigarette or who buys a lighter has paid some penny for through of the taxes which saw you through your life. So to say that you have that nobody has any role to play in my life, whether it's anarchy, whether it's capitalism, doesn't hold good. So society is required, family system is required, mutual brotherhood is required, and then the support of state only to encourage you, only to arm you enough to go ahead and enjoy life is what is required. Now, why Europe is collapsing? Because in Europe, the entire welfare economy, which is now trying to fund their aged population, has no money now. Nobody is ready to work because they feel state will take care of their life. And if everybody is going to depend on state, who is going to earn the money and pay the taxes to see that you are happy in the old age? That
No,
lesson Europe is learning now. US has also realized, but you require, of course, help for the senior, help for the poor, but you cannot discourage people who create wealth. You cannot destroy wealth itself.
there are the new immigrants which have been imported from certain countries, especially Middle East and Africa. They, according to them, state is a welfare provider for them. They only came to US because every child will get their money. And so now sitting at home, they are earning a lot of money, and it is paid through taxpayers. And so when they are having that mindset and they're teaching their children, so the children have to feed on the society, and there is no
Exactly.
shame there like no mainstream American does that. And these are the new immigrants, and these are the people who have gained maximum access to the campus. And there is a I don't know how to say it. There is a FAFSA program which feeds the immigrants, and so there's no need to work now. So you just have to take grants after grants after grants after grants, and you're done. Your life is done. And after 25 years, if you stay in the university for 25 years, one good thing about American university is they're going to throw you out after 3 years. So if you stay somehow, then you're done. Your life is done, over. And then they go to tourist places. They're traveling on that money, and throughout the world, they're showing their American passports and everything. And it's a totally out of control situation now. And these are the
But
same
see,
people on the streets.
they believe that Uncle Sam has become the Almighty God or Almighty Allah who will provide them all the providence. But Uncle Sam had that money because somebody from the time of Abraham Lincoln, fought for the unity of USA, fought for the entire nation, and fought against the slavery. He stood up. So that particular liberty that those founding fathers of USA created, that is what created the benign Uncle Sam. You cannot have Uncle Sam becoming Allah, who has no, or God getting no money from anywhere. And people who just consume money because God has unlimited resources. Uncle Sam or anybody on the earth doesn't have unlimited resources. Resources are provided by hard-working people. So
And
unless that lesson goes down, you will have serious crisis.
I think the US has to completely stop taking their loans from China because I think that the entire business with China is just feeding this economy. And there's a very
If
funny
you
thing.
hear the stories currently, Aditya, in India today, the last 2 3 days, you will find there is huge expose of erstwhile ruling party Congress taking funds in the private trusts from China, and that is seems to have influenced their entire policy towards China as far as the response to Chinese attack or aggression in India goes. So naturally, the funds define. No, as I said, no money comes without strings attached unless you have earned it. So if that is happening in India, that is happening in your universities, it's high time you become self-dependent. Stop saying we will take any grants from the people who have got their own ulterior motives, whose stand is totally against the very principles of American life. So that is the way forward.
No,
You
I
cannot
read,
live on doles,
I
whether
read
they come in whatever name. You cannot live on doles. America's strength was its own strength. It was not derived from anybody else's funds ever. They may have done a lot of wrong in creating mayhem in Middle East, etc. But that is not the central character of America. Central character of America remains the culture of self-dependence, a culture of standing up for self and working hard. Once you stop that, then America's spirit goes. In India, spirit is dharmic, where we say we will do something for the self and also for the society. We will not be aggressive against anybody. We will respect everybody. That is our culture. America has its own culture. Now they have to come together to create a culture which will respect every community and give them rightful place. But there is no substitute for hard work. There is no use of doles which basically have strings attached, which will always be so. You cannot really blame anybody who funds you that, okay, how can you dictate my terms? It will happen. If Grand Old Party of India has been affected by it, you can imagine what will happen to Democratic Party tomorrow.
no, in India, I've been following that news for last 2 3 days. If it were to happen in US by any of the leading political opposition parties, they'll be in jail for sure.
So it is already happening in your universities.
In
The people who
university,
are coming out of the universities, they are funded by these people. And these are the people who are controlling political parties. Slowly they will rise. And that is how the thought process and narrative will change in USA.
see, in US, the funding is brought through called chairs, research chairs, and also the people buy those chairs, and in that way, and I think that's the one thing they need to stop in American universities. That when you have a conflicting ideology, they have to stop. And I think it's a problem of the American education system as well, where the state is not investing enough in the universities in many ways. So the privatization of universities is actually not working out because generally people don't have that money to pay, and universities don't run on just the fees. They have to have much more resources than the fees to run the university.
That's true. Unfortunately, that is also happening in India nowadays. Last 15, 20 years, there is too much of privatization in the education, in health field, which actually is detrimental to the overall welfare of the society, I would say. And I hope that the governments keep on investing in education and health as a state support, because otherwise, where will poor go? How will they study? How will they survive? So that is where the investment to go. Doesn't have to go to free funding of lunches and free funding of higher education. It has to come into the very infrastructure.
Yes, and I think from this session, the message is very clear. Education is important, and right education is more important than just education. Because I think
Yes.
the education per se, which is through the leftist and communist ideology, is going to hurt USA and any other country. For that matter, any other country. So thank you so much for this on the show. There are a lot of questions here by the
Thank you,
students.
Adit. Thanks for having me on your show. It's a pleasure.
One last question is coming from the students is that where does the India's ascent on the technological scale on the technology side coming from? Is it from the university or from the individual students? Hello.
I lost your voice, so can you please repeat the question?
So one of the student is asking is India's technological strength coming
I
from
didn't
the
get your voice,
individual?
so can you please repeat the question?
Yes. Can you hear me now?
I didn't get your question. Can you please repeat your question?
Yes. Do you hear it now?
I'm getting broken voice somehow, some problem with me, but you can try. I'll try
Okay.
to answer.
So one other question is the India's technological growth coming due to individuals or through the system of university system that India has?
You're saying India's technological growth. What else?
India's technological growth is it coming from the individual students or through the education system of India? This is one of the question is asked by the student.
See, we luckily so far had people coming from even remote corners of India, studying in remote schools, studying in local languages. So they had very strong strength of logic and the inner ability to understand the issues very well. Their issue was only the issue of communication. So these people have risen with hard work. They have come to university, they have studied, and they have worked hard to reach where they are. So there is an innate, strength of Indian DNA in technology, in science, with a very old 5,000, 6,000 year old science and technology and mathematics that lies in Indian mind, which is still there, and that is the strength, the native languages, the natives education that they have received, that strengthens that inner strength of the logic and scientific mind. And as they get exposure to better environment, they succeed very well. So even the best of the technocrats in USA today have come from very humble backgrounds. India has education system which is good enough, so the basic grounding is good, but it is our innate strength, our innate strength to be close to the education in the way they have done in their own native languages. So I think the language of your education, at least at primary level, plays a very important part in your strengthening of your logical system, understanding the knowledge. And unfortunately, we are losing it. We are also going after English, which is not our strength. You get your education in your native language, it strengthens your entire knowledge system, and that's what I've seen. This blind, going. If you see our IS officers, our government officers, our scientists, none of them are the toppers from English medium. All these toppers are from the regional languages from small towns, whether they are in administrative. None of these people, the toppers come from so-called highly fancy English medium schools. So this rootedness of our society is what what creates the right kind of intelligent people. Then of course the opportunities come and they rise.
Thank you so much, and Namaskar, and it's a pleasure to speak with you, and thank you
Thank
for
you
all
so
the
much.
nice questions to all the students. Thank you, Ratanji.